abroad, and there was a time Eugene said that they invite Gen Zs to get into, the political parties, particularly those of the forming opposition coalition. And I kind of underlined that word, invite. I am persuaded myself that the next elections will be won to the extent that Gen Zs are a central part of the electoral process. And so they have to feel that after the events of last year, that they're being recognized as a major part of the struggle for democratic change, for the economic liberation, the third liberation that must happen. And so one question that I could ask WAMALWA is, given how difficult it is to form political parties in Kenya, does he think that their coalition could actually help the Gen Zs to have their own party, so that when they come into the table, if they decide to come to any table, they come as an equal partner to whoever, and they're not just being invited to, come into this party and that party, and maybe sometimes they play peripheral positions, because the 8 million people who didn't vote in the last elections and were registered voters were young people. About 3 to 4 million did not register as citizens or did not register to vote. And now, by 2027, about another 4 million Gen Zs will be ready, 18 plus, to vote. That's about 16 million new votes. And definitely, if those have an incentive to participate, because they see that they are going to be at the center of the electoral process, at the center of reforming Kenya, I'm sure they would come up and be very much involved. So the question is, do you think, Honorable WAMALWA, that this Gen Z bloc needs to create a political party or parties of Gen Zs, and then to be able, therefore, when they sit at table, they sit at table as people who are of consequence. And of course, the integrity issue that has been there are various speakers who have asked about the integrity question, so that the opposition, the people who are aspiring to take over from RUTO, are themselves, let me say, reasonably clean. Because sometimes if one watches some of the people that, for example, in the coalition with Kalonzo and so on, some of the people may have had a clear past of being questioned in terms of the integrity. Now, is that a pointer to the kind of integrity test that is going to come up, be relevant as we go forward? And of course, the coalitions still look like they are forming on the basis of tribe, not ideology. So will that change, or am I wrong in thinking so? And the Kenya Kwanza Alliance had a big plan of hustler, of bottom up. So where is the manifesto is the manifesto in the process of being made and socialized, so that people know for real that the new leadership will definitely be different? Because that's the problem that Kenyans have, that people come like how Kenya Kwanza did, and they say they are going to do a new thing. There'll be a new song. But then, we realize that there isn't that new song. And therefore, let me land by saying that there was something very important that Eugene did, but it seemed to have been frustrated. He tried to get the economic blocs so that counties could aggregate and be able to have more economic muscle. And maybe that's something that WAMALWA needs to, talk about a lot as they go to places, and that kind of thing. That was a very positive thing that he did, and also to sensitize Kenyans that there are people who want to change the constitution to create, I don't know, prime ministers, deputy prime ministers, chief administrative, whatever, so that in advance people are forewarned and they are able to say that they don't want positions created so that they can be used in terms of the elections. The IEBC issue has been talked a lot about, so I won't repeat that, because if there isn't an independent IEBC, that is going to really perhaps create the problems in 2027, even contestation that could lead into a civil war. But I wish that the Gen Zs would be assisted to form their political formations so that when they are negotiating with whoever, they are doing that from a point of strength and a point of authenticity, and that actually we should be working towards getting like at least half of the elective positions in 2027 going to Gen Z and Gen Y, just like other places like abroad, where even 30-year-olds, 30-something, become prime ministers, because leadership is shifting to the younger generation, and people should be helped, mentored to get into the leadership. Thank you very much, Hilary, Abdi, Rose, and Eugene, for discussing with Kenyans and not being afraid to face hard questions. Thank you very much, everybody in the space.
Yes, government does not mean he cannot lead or do better in the next government. And the example I can give you is Professor KIBWANA. And I was very, very privileged to have been his student. Mwalimu wangu, I'm grateful, and I want to thank Hilary, Abdi, and Rose for actually extending this session, that I had a chance to talk to my professor of law, constitutional law. And after leaving the University of Nairobi, when I was appointed to the Ministry of Justice, I was again privileged to work with Professor KIBWANA. He was the advisor to President Kibaki on constitutional affairs. We worked very, very closely between the presidency and the Ministry of Justice to ensure implementation of this great, great constitution. And I can tell you, after he left Kibaki's government, after we promulgated the constitution and he became Governor Makueni, what he did was a fantastic job. I can tell you, as the Minister for Devolution, that I worked with KIBWANA again, and what he did in Makueni is what can be done when we have leaders of integrity, leaders of great vision in our country and in our counties. Professor KIBWANA was able to show what leadership can be. And Makueni was one of the best performing counties. In spite of our local politics and challenges of impeachment, KIBWANA was able to perform and outperform most of his peers. And today, as we speak, I can still say KIBWANA is one of the best governors Kenya has ever had. And he transformed Makueni, matters corruption, matters tribalism, the way that county was run, in terms of public participation and involving the people in decision making. I always gave the example of Makueni, where one governor used about 200 million to build a governor's house. I won't name that county. Yet Professor KIBWANA used 150 million to put up a hospital that served over 100,000 people, and a house for a governor that served 5 people, the governor, his wife, and his 3 children. That is the difference in terms of leadership. Everything stands and falls on leadership of integrity. Those of you, because this question has kept coming back, oh, you've been in this system, you've been in that government, what will change? One of the best performing presidents of our republic was Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki served in the Kenyatta government. Mwai Kibaki served in the Moi government. He was one of the best finance ministers. He was vice president. But when Kenyans gave him an opportunity to serve as president, I think his 10 years were the most transformative. When you look, it's about a leader and the integrity of that leader and the vision for the country and the policies you bring. So to my last question, I want to say that the fact that Eugene served in the last 2 administrations, does not mean he cannot make a great president or a transformative president given a chance. All you need to do is, yes, now public service, you have been here for the last 10 or 20 years, scrutinize his record in public service. And if you find Eugene Wamalwa to be a qualified leader to be president and a leader of integrity and a leader who can actually measure up to your expectations, then he is qualified to be that president. Don't expect angels to come from nowhere to transform this country, but let us just have leaders of integrity to do it. And it will depend on the policies that will, what changed this country during Kibaki's regime were policies. He brought about the free primary education policy. At first, it looked like an impossible thing, but later on, the whole world celebrated the free primary education policy by Kibaki, and later on the free secondary education and transition, 100% transition. Kenya is one of the few African countries that was able to achieve 100% transition from primary to secondary. It's because of the good policies Kibaki put in place, and that Uhuru carried on. And it was done, it was achieved in Uhuru's time, the 100% transition, but the foundation was laid by Mwai Kibaki. So what we are saying about the policies, it's not that we hate William Ruto, but we hate the corruption that he has entrenched in this country and the tribalism. When you look at what has happened in our public service, when you look at the policies that are hurting every Kenyan, and it matters not whether you are Luya or Kalenjin or Kikuyu or Kisi, if a policy is bad, it's bad for all Kenyans. If the pay slip shrinks for teachers, it will not look at a teacher in Baringo or Ileo Marakwet or a teacher in Tuda in Mombasa. All teachers will be affected. Just like now, all policemen are affected. Because when that housing levy is forced on you, whether you are a doctor or a teacher or an MCA or an MP or a professor teaching somewhere, you suffer the same. So we are saying what we will need is really leaders who can make changes. And some of us were in the last administration that had put in place good policies. Linda Mama. This new government comes in and removes Linda Mama. There was Kazi Mitani, where we're putting money in the pockets of young people in different parts of the country, 2 billion every month. The first thing they came and scrapped it. When it came to importation of oil, we wanted openness, transparency. We had the OTP system, open tender system, where anyone in the energy sector who wanted to import, it was open. But here, our friends come in and change to G2G. Few people fly to Dubai, seal a deal, and the deal runs up to December. Again, they extend it. So as we speak, even if crude oil prices drop globally, Kenya is locked into a deal that benefited a few people, and oil prices have not gone down. They come up with policies that double VAT on fuel. This is where the rain started beating us. Change of policy. VAT, once it moved from 8% to 16%, everything went bottom up. And all these policies we are saying, yes, we have leaders, we have young Gen Zs who are qualified to lead this country, and we can work together. We have seasoned politicians and leaders who have served in this past regime and past administration, who have the experience, who can tell you these were the policies changed in the education sector, the new funding model, this is what was done in health, this SHA NHIF was working, this is what could have been changed. There's expertise, institutional memories there that can change this country from day one, where we can say, as we take over, and we are revising this SHA thing, first executive order is this housing levy thing must go. We are going to relook at this and do that and that. It's like hunting. When you go hunting, those of you, many of you, maybe Gen Z might not know how hunting was in the village. Those of us who grew up on the farm, when you go hunting, you don't go with one dog. There will be the old dog that has a big voice that would bark, and the antelope would break cover and run. Then there will be that scent, the dog that knows how to smell the scent. That's the most experienced dog of all and very important in following the animal. Then there was the youngest, the strongest, that runs faster than the old one and the dog of that smells the scent. All of them are important in the hunt. It's what you will go hunt and bring home that matters on the family table. And all decisions, like Ronald Reagan said, greatest decisions, revolution start at the family table. How are we going to hunt? Who will play what role? We can work together and complement each other in terms of ensuring we succeed in the objective. And I agree with Tosi that it will not be easy to remove William Ruto. And we're not removing William Ruto because he's of that community or we hate him. It's because he is the one who has brought these changes that are hurting Kenyans. And he has said himself, the levels to which he wishes to raise taxation, he's not even halfway there. Meaning as long as the cow is up on that tree, taxes will go up. What happened in October? What is going to happen the end of February when NSSF rates come in? What's going to happen in June after the Finance Bill 2025 passes will keep happening as long as he's there, because he has defied experts who came to bomb us, who told him, Mr. President, you've gotten it wrong. Higher taxes do not necessarily translate into higher revenues for government. There's only a level to which you can tax your citizens, and you have passed that level. In fact, you are violating the rights of all these employees, the dignity of the workers in Kenya, because you have gone beyond the level. And I listened to the FKE speakers saying the same thing. Many Kenyans are going into depression. They look at their payslips and they can't make ends meet. Yet, you see wastage in this government. Billions are being spent on State House. An old, beautiful architectural Victorian age colonial look house is transformed into a new State House. Billions are being spent there. When you're saying there isn't capitation money, when you're saying there isn't enough money to go to the counties, when you're saying you can't even pay lunch for your soldiers. Now, I've been Minister for Defense. To remove lunch for our soldiers is something that has never happened in our history. Where is the money going? The wastage, the corruption, and everything that has come with it is why we are saying William Ruto must go. So, my friend, it's not about just the system, it's about the leader. Everything stands and falls on leadership. And Professor KIBWANA is a great example of what good leadership can achieve for a county and a country. And this is why we're saying most of these things need to be changed. And we're saying we are not inviting Gen Zs. Professor Gen Zs are ahead of us. We were there on the streets in 2023. We did our demos. We didn't achieve a quarter of what the Gen Zs achieved. We never even accessed the CBD. Gen Zs were better organized with better technology. They were able to get into CBD and into parliament, and they could have gotten into State House if they didn't kill them as they did. And I can tell you today, they are the leaders of this movement. We can only come to complement, and they will be our partners, not passengers in this vehicle. So we want to assure you tonight that the coalition that we are putting together will be one that will put the Gen Z, the millennials, center and front of this movement, and they will be at the steering wheel. Watakuwa manahodha wa meli hii, sio abiria. That is one assurance we want to give. They can choose to form their own party. They come to the table. We know they have tried before. There's been frustration because the registrar said you can't form a party on the basis of age or region or religion because of constitutional requirements. But we do know that they can get aboard vehicles that they can bring them to the table, and we partner together, not for them to become passengers or invitees. So that, Prof, I want to assure you that is where we want to look at. And also the issue of integrity. As we come together as a coalition, we must be guided by values that we believe in. And also based on Article 10, the issue of integrity is very, very important. That cannot be compromised, because when you bring the wash leaders and you give them a country, we have seen what they can do. We have seen them share 16 billion through KNTC, go to Dubai, and they never brought anything back home. The edible oil scandal still runs. The oil scandal still runs, the G2G, and all these scandals, the fertilizer, fake fertilizer. This is what poor leadership turns into when we have the wrong leaders in these offices. So in terms of bringing, I think Mr. President raised the issue of the IEBC, the issue of Muli versus Muli. Yes, that was a serious issue in Azimio, but it was resolved through court. The court gave directions on who between the two Mulis should be, and the nominations were done, and Koki's name was forwarded. And as we speak now, Koki was has been sworn in, and already the panel has started its work. They have already advertised, so the ship has set sail. And let us wish them all the best. They're all Kenyans, so we hope they'll do what's right for our country, to pick men and women of integrity to be our commissioners. But we must remain alive to the fact that William Ruto will try day and night to rig this election, to manipulate the process and those who will be in those offices. But it's only eternal vigilance that will save us. We know that they've stolen a lot of money. Yes, money is going to be an issue, but I think a time comes when, like in 2002, in spite of Moi's money, when the country decided no amount of money could stop the will of the people, and no amount of force can stop the will of the people. I think that's one thing. All we need to do is get the right team together, the right coalition together, and say, for this, we must all sacrifice to save our country. I think we've reached that crisis level, and we are seeing also an attack on independent institutions. It's Barack Obama who said in Accra, Ghana, that what Africa needs are not strong men, but strong institutions. What we have here is a leader who admires strong men and who has become friends to strong men in Africa, and who is borrowing bad manners from some of these strong men to grow into one of the worst dictators we might have in our country. And he's undermining all independent institutions. He has captured parliament. He has an all-out assault, unprecedented assault on the judiciary, and Martha Koome is targeted. We know that she might not be perfect, but the institution of the judiciary and its independence must be protected at all costs. The other institution that is being targeted is the ORPP, and we know that the Israel political parties is actually facing some challenges. And that comes down to what I said. William Ruto is an existential threat to a multi-party democracy. If he can buy all parties, collapse all parties, he wouldn't mind setting the feet of this nation back to the one-party system where he was nurtured politically and as part of the YK92 group. But we are saying we will get a team together that will defend our multi-party democracy, defend our institutions, and particularly devolution. Devolution needs to be strengthened with the right leadership. This is a game changer. We've seen it in Makueni and other counties. Let us not let our guard down. Matters education, CBC, new university funding model. These are some of the areas as the new administration, as we come in, we will be open to change. And already what has most of the changes made so far, their policies have failed. And I heard the Minister for Education saying the other day they are going back by September to get a new funding model, and that should be open to discussion with proper public participation, whether CBC or the new funding model is working or not. These are policies that can be reversed. They're not cast in stone. What is not working for Kenya must be discarded, and we get a new model that will work for this country and for all of us. So let me not think there are a lot of questions, but because of time, I want to agree with those who are proposing, particularly the incoming governor of Mombasa. Josephine was talking about the issue of the recall of members of parliament. As soon as IBC is formed, this should be a number one priority. And we do not have to wait until 2027. Our constitution gives us the power. The power, the sovereign power of this nation lies in the people. They have only donated it. You can withdraw that power. The way Gachagua went home, William Ruto can go home before 2027. You're a member of parliament who have sold you out, who said yes to Finance Bill 2023, who said yes to Finance Bill 2024, that has made your life difficult. That MP, you have the powers to recall him. You don't have to humiliate until 2027. So I agree with those of you who are saying, let us work on getting the right team together, and we see how we can change this. Many factories are closing. Yes, Josephine. It's also because of the harsh taxes that have been brought by Zakayo. What we need is a new team that can create the conducive environment so that we don't end up losing many of these investors who are moving to other countries. It's because of the environment that is not conducive. The ease of doing business in Kenya, we used to, under Uhuru Kenyatta, because the right policy was put in, we had ranked the highest in Africa and actually amongst the top countries in the world in terms of ease of doing business. We're being attractive, attracting more foreign direct investment here. But with the environment that's there, the harsh taxes, this has been affected. And yes, we have lost a lot of investors, and we continue losing many of them as factories close. Today, I've seen the unemployment rate is at an all-time high. We know that they were talking of exporting Kenyans to do many jobs abroad, but they have failed to create employment opportunities back home. The national debt and all that, I think we had discussed this matter at Bomas. Those of you who followed the conversation at Bomas, we had said actually what we needed was now to have a serious national dialogue to address matters of the debt and the ongoing borrowing, to see how we can strengthen Parliament and the oversighting role so that no borrowing can be done without full authority of Parliament. So that needs to be strengthened. We also wanted to look at the issue of the ever-rising wage bill crisis. This is something that we had proposed at Bomas. We need that conference to also address the taxation regime, the heavy burden on the citizens, and the best way out of it. All this, as you know, Ruto was taking us for a ride. He was never serious about the national dialogue at Bomas. Nothing has come out of it. I do not regret that I did sign that report. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. I think thank you for your powerful submission and insightful contribution as the speaker as we come to a close of this session. I would like to give 2 minutes to Dr. Milton, 2 minutes to KOT, and 2 minutes to Professor to make their closing remarks. Then I can get back to you for your closing remarks. Thank you. Over to you, Milton. Milton, you can hear me? KOT?
Okay, thank you so much, Abdi and Milton and the rest of the speakers and the listeners for joining us on this platform tonight. Personally, I don't have much to say. I think much have been said by the speakers who have been on this platform. And so what I want to encourage us is that we want to see change in our nation, so let us go and get that change. Let us not wait for other people to bring that change to us. And by having said that, all the young people who are on this platform, I can see Akina Okayo, they're here. Guys, let us go and take that political power. Mheshimiwa Eugene, expect me pale Kimilili, and so your support inahitajika sana. So thank you so much and have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
KOT.
Okay, thank you. Professor, over to you for a closing remark.
Yes, let me also say to KOT all the best. Endelea hivyo hivyo. You know, I think it was Fabish who said that the issue is not like the young people getting into politics. That is not what the Gen Zs looked for, and that it is needed to smash the system, overhaul the system, and so on. Of course, one cannot disagree with that position, but it needs people to do that. The system cannot destroy itself, cannot smash itself. So I think, well, I can feel frustration from Fabish, but the system can only be righted by people who are progressive, who, you know, begin to say, what is this new Kenya that should look like, and then proceed, you know, from that level. And that is why my insistence that, or my idea, or my thought, that the Gen Zs, the Gen Ys must explore all opportunities to make sure that there is a leadership transition, and they now, you know, can bring the change that they have been asking for and they believe is suitable for all Gen Zote. But again, I thank Eugene, because at least he's one of those who are not afraid to do dialogue with young people and Kenyans. And thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Abdi. Thank you, Rose, for aggregating us. And please continue with this, because it's really great. I yield.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. Dr. Milton, are you there?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay, please go ahead. 2 minutes for your closing remark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Always refreshing coming back here to have this kind of discussion. I think it is necessary that we keep doing this, and the more we do it, the more the urge is renewed, and we keep refreshing and rewatering our desire for liberation for our country. I want to conclude by saying that I think what is becoming clear by the day is that we have a duty to liberate our country, and that duty requires all of us, like Honorable Eugene has kept saying, all hands on deck approach, and that is what we need from all different generations, all walks of life, regardless of background, whatever it is that you come from. And I want to emphasize that what we have seen is reason for us to continue putting on the pressure. We want more young people to come out and seek leadership positions. But beyond that, we also want to make sure that even age does not become the only consideration. But that we have people who present themselves, who believe in the dream Kenya, that the project Kenya that we all want, but also are people of integrity, and they are people that can be relied on and can be depended upon. And lastly, is to say that there are signs, and every evidence points out that we are dealing with somebody that has no respect and no regard for anybody that does not believe in singing their tune, and therefore we must stay awake. They say stay woke. Stay woke. Let us stand for our country, and let us. I think the last thing is that let us continue engaging outside of this main space, because that is something that we are also lacking. Can we continue engaging even after these spaces and see what we can do together, what we can do to begin this snowballing this movement from the different levels? And I must appreciate the efforts by Honorable Kigame to reach out, come DM and what is it that we can do? And we are beginning to start. If we can do that and create these caucuses and create this network and contact list for all of us, we can then be able to start initiating ideas and activities that can make this a continuous thing, so that Pressure Point does not only happen on Sunday, it comes to life on Sunday, because that is when we are all putting our heads together and saying, hey, for the last 7 days, this is what we have been doing, and this is the outcome. And then Zakayo and his praise choir will begin to feel the pressure, and they would not even wait for 2027, and neither will they wait for anybody to chase them out. They will pack up their bags and go. May God bless you all. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. May God bless our great country, and asante sana.
Thank you so much, Abdi. Odero, 1 minute, then
yeah, Odero, go ahead 1 minute before we go cycle back to Honorable Eugene.
Okay, thank you. A quick one. Mheshimiwa Eugene, we want to support you. We want to stand by you. My request is, would you do a consideration of making the face of DAP party a national party? That is from the top official leadership, the party leader Wamunyini, the deputy party leaders, the secretary general, and all of them, and all of the top officials. Because as it stands right now, it looks a little more a community party or tribal party than a national party. So that one is one recommendation. If you can do that with the party, because we want to push all this as a team. We want to push all this as a family. So I will recommend that you work on the party so that it represents the image of the country of the country Kenya. Second, I will request, because I know you have a governor in Trans Nzoia, Natembeya. Trans Nzoia is Kenyan food basket. Unfortunately, in Trans Nzoia, where we have maize being grown in bulk and harvested in bulk, we don't have even a maize milling factory or industry. Will you put this request to your governor, your governor under DAP, to put this under considerations? Because I think the child is an image of the father. So what you could do if you become a president is a clear replica of what your MPs or elected officials under DAP are doing right now, that they have powers and they have resources at their disposal with the areas of their jurisdiction. So if you can request this in Trans Nzoia, it is so alarming, and I've received a lot of concerns about that from Trans Nzoia officials of late for the last 1 month. Thank you.
Thank you, Odera. Over to you, Honorable Eugene, for your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think to start with, Odera, yes, George Natembeya is not just my governor, but is also the deputy party leader in DAP Kenya. And that is one of the issues that we had promised the people of Trans Nzoia. I'll just ask him to fast track it because we have maize going for hundreds of kilometers to be milled, even as far as Mombasa, when that could be done right in Trans Nzoia and create employment for our local youth and people in the region. So I thank you for that tip, and also the tip about the party. As I say, this party was formed on the eve of it's one of the youngest parties in Kenya. It's just 3 years old, and what we had was a team, the caretaker team that formed it. But we've started grassroots elections. We started in December, and we'll be doing in all 47 counties, and we'll have the leadership that will come up from every corner of Kenya, so that we have a truly national party. Even as we form the People's Coalition, we want that face of Kenya to be reflected in that coalition as well. And even as we partner with the GenZs and the millennials and all the other partners, civil society, the churches, and apart from the political parties, we want that face of Kenya, an all-inclusive country where no one is left behind. I want to thank you all for listening to me tonight. And Professor KIBWANA, I must say, actually, it's not that I was that brave, but many politicians are afraid to come to these spaces because of the very harsh rhetoric we've been hearing. We've been called names, and people fear coming out to open themselves to insults, and because some spaces have been very insulting remarks and everything. But since we have nothing to fear, as Eugene WAMALWA have said, I've had a good time tonight. And Hillary, I want to thank you very, very much, and to tell you that if you and Abdi and Rose invite me, I will not hesitate to come again and be part of this great conversation towards Project Kenya. I would love to be part of that change that will see our country back away from the hands of those who have really messed it up. And all I will ask again as I close, I want to close with the words of 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 22, as I said. Let us not say, oh, we are Gen Zs, we are Gen Y, we are Gen X, we are Gen Alpha. And we sound like those Christians who are saying, oh, we belong to Paul, we belong to Apollo, we belong to Cephas. They were told that as long as you belong to Christ, we are on the same side. As long as tonight you believe in a heart of hearts that our country is going in the wrong direction, that our country is going to the dogs, that our country is suffocating under endemic corruption and tribalism, and you want things changed, you know that that is what the Gen Zs went out for accountability, for transparency, for good governance. And they used their tech-savvy skills that many of our generation do not have. And that digital revolution was really a revolution that has been celebrated across the world. Let us stay focused on the real mission, which would be to ensure that we get our country back on track. Thank you very much.